Throughout the South Pacific and bordering the South China Sea are many lands and peoples whose traditions and customs were centuries old at the time of Marco Polo. Here, the way of life itself is influenced strongly by religions far more ancient than Christianity. Mohammedans, Hindus, and Buddhists have their separate traditions and customs, some of great simplicity, others of spectacular grandeur. In the realm of ancient Siam, the streets of Bangkok resound to the muffled drum beat of a rarely seen ceremony. It is the funeral of a king, now to be cremated, and the solemn procession moves toward the funeral pyre. A boxer invokes the blessing of Buddha before a fight, as a prayer flute is heard. And then, to Western eyes accustomed to sharp footwork in the ring, the fighters add something new that gives them additional weapons. The kick is legal. They may not have shoes on their feet, but they have socks. And a good hard sock with a bare foot can put a man down for the count. Throughout the Far East, women uncomplainingly accept the role of motherhood, and at the same time bear many other burdens in the struggle to exist. For these are crowded lands, and every mouth to feed multiplies the family problem. The homemade loom will produce the cloth from which the family's clothes are made. Fortunately, few are needed. The ancient practice of winnowing grain is usually a woman's work, the wind blowing away the light husks. The strong arms and tireless backs pound the grain into flour. Here, mother enlists the help of her two boys who learn at an early age that to eat, one must work. Chances are he has done his share in creating that bowl of rice. Having an elephant on your hands in the rubber-growing countries is an asset. The owner of beast gets $50 a day for pushing down old trees to clear the ground for new plantings. The elephant gets peanuts. He not only uproots them, he removes them. Picking up a heavy yoke and getting it between his strong jaws, the beast lumbers off, dragging without effort 2 full-grown trees. Spraying rubber trees with sulfur combats disease, and everything is done to increase the yield of latex, as the sap is called. The cutting of the draining channel is done by a highly skilled worker. This part of the Far East produces over 90% of the world's natural rubber, almost half of it coming from the island of Malaya alone. Of all the peoples of the Orient, the rubber plantation workers earn more and live better. And by the way, your next new tire may start here. Your next cup of tea may also originate right here, for these girls are picking the top leaves, always the tenderest tea leaves, to be dried for export. The next time Hollywood selects Miss Universe, they might look to this area. In many places, farmers still irrigate their fields by methods in use for centuries. Water is precious in one place, a flood problem in another. but there is always cleanliness. These farmers have progressed to the point of mechanization. The machinery may be crude, but the wooden gears mesh with precision, and the power that turns the wheel never falters. Many gallons of water per hour will be lifted by the jars lashed to the rim of the wheel. The fields are ready, and now the grain is sowed. At harvest time, the hand sickle is still used on the ripened grain, which may represent some security against hunger until the next harvest. Cows driven over and over the straw thresh the grain from the ears of the wheat, their hooves leaving the ground covered with the hard kernels beneath the straw. Winnowing by this method is centuries old, and as usual, the women do it. The family flour mill may have been in use for generations, the grinding stone worn smooth by use. Foods in these countries are usually hot and spicy, with condiments rolled into the mixture as it is prepared for cooking. Singapore, crossroads of the Orient and crown colony of the Straits settlements, draws people from all over the Far East, with Hindus predominating. The itinerant snake charmer is, of course, a Hindu. It is assumed that his flute playing astonishes a cobra so thoroughly the snake forgets to bite. As a Siamese king departed on his last journey, so also does the humble peasant, but without the pomp and ceremony. The funeral pyre is prepared exactly as if this were on the banks of the Ganges back in India. Like the flame of life, the fire flickers out. So these are glimpses of South Pacific East horizons, lands of ancient cultures, of industrious and proud peoples whose world is closer every year to ours, for the twain of East and West has had the meeting.